Our person who's going to introduce the next speaker is Dr. Hiram Fitzgerald, who has been a supporter for the Family Impact Seminars, and he's Associate Provost for University Outreach and Engagement at Michigan State University.
Thanks, Esther. Dr. Lisa Cook is an assistant professor at Michigan State University. She is appointed in the Department of Economics, College of Social Science, and at James Madison College, one of the 4 residential colleges at the university. She was the first Marshall Scholar from Spelman College to attend Oxford University, where she obtained a bachelor's degree in philosophy, politics, and economics. She subsequently earned her doctoral degree in economics from the University of California, Berkeley. She's been a postdoctoral fellow, visiting assistant professor at Harvard University's Kennedy School of Government, senior advisor on finance and development at the Treasury Department, a member of the Council on Foreign Relations International. She was a Council of Foreign Relations International Affairs Fellow under the Clinton and Bush administrations, and a National Fellow at the Hoover Institute at Stanford University. Most recently, Professor Cook was a member of President Obama's transition team, working on the economics and international trade team. She has also completed internships at Salomon Brothers, the World Bank, the Federal Reserve Bank in New York, the Brookings Institution, and Citizens and Southern Bank, which is now called Bank of America. Dr. Cook's current teaching and research interests include economic growth and development, financial institutions and crises, the economics of intellectual property rights, and post-conflict economics. She is the author of a number of published articles, book chapters, and working papers, and has conducted extensive survey research in Russia, Africa, and the United States. With fellow economist and co-author Jeffrey Sachs, she has advised the governments of Rwanda and Nigeria, and in Rwanda she led the Harvard team that helped to negotiate Rwanda's first post-genocide IMF program. She has lived in France, the United Kingdom, Senegal, and Russia, and speaks French, Wolof, Russian, and Spanish. We're delighted that she is now living in mid-Michigan and speaking to us today on the economic and financial crisis in Michigan, survey evidence from Michigan households. Please welcome Dr. Cook.
Thank you for that very generous introduction. I hope what I'm about to tell you lives up to that. Thank you all for the opportunity to speak to you today about the evidence that we've collected on Michigan households and how this gives us a picture of the economic and financial crisis that is evolving. So just wanted to give you a quick bit of information about me. As was said, I have worked on financial crises before, and I am looking at the Michigan situation relative to the experience that I've had in other countries. So I've taken several lessons from other crises. For example, I've recognized, like a number of other economists, that the features of the housing and credit crisis back in 2006 and 2007 were unsustainable. Michigan was at the epicenter of the crisis, as we know. There's rising unemployment, as Doug was just saying, declining personal income, and defaults on subprime mortgages. So, this is exactly what Doug was presented. But just to give you another statistic that's consistent with the evidence already presented, this is per capita personal income in Michigan relative to the U.S. average. And this is over time. This is from 1950 to 2007. So this is just a picture, a snapshot from 2007. This is when the foreclosure market in the non-prime category was at the very beginning, somewhere near the middle. But as you can see, the darkest areas are Michigan, Ohio, and Minnesota. This is where the crisis was really getting going quickly. And these are Michigan foreclosures from the latest data we have. The darkest areas are where there are the most foreclosures. So this is 1 and 173 housing units for the darkest colored areas. So this is roughly the Saginaw to Warren to Detroit corridor where many of the foreclosures are happening now, and in the Grand Rapids area. In terms of home prices and the evolution of foreclosures, what we see is that we had a fairly steady but high rate between December 2008 and August 2009, but in August we had this acceleration, and the fear is that this is going to climb higher given higher unemployment levels. And home prices fell and then have come back up and are declining in the current period. So we can talk about foreclosures, we can talk about bank closures, we can talk about a lot of other things, but the financial crisis has a human cost. And one of those costs can be reflected in food stamp participation. This has increased steadily over the last 5 years and has increased dramatically just in the last year. So if you look at, for the U.S., this has gone up by roughly a quarter, and for Michigan, it's just under a quarter. And I've given some other states for comparison. So managing financial and economic crises requires timely information. Things are changing very rapidly. On the consumer side, they need to adjust current and future income and spending. They need to establish or use savings. They need to reduce household spending by postponing or eliminating big-ticket items, for example, and reducing entertainment or dining out budgets. For policymakers, they really have to stabilize the economy, resolve uncertainty, restore confidence by doing so. And in that sense, they have to use savings or rainy day funds, for example, and they may need to implement very quickly appropriate countercyclical policies. So I noticed that timely, comprehensive data were not available on the impact of the crisis on Michigan households. And from a macroeconomic perspective, we could collect data, or I was asking whether we could collect data on the current situation and future activity, sort of an early warning system so that policymakers can respond appropriately and in a timely fashion. So with MSU Extension, we created a survey that did two things. First, we started collecting data on current and future, the current and future situation of households, and we wanted to provide them with resources that would be helpful. So you have, just to explain it in a nutshell, you have people who are newly poor or on the edge, and they're looking for information, and we were trying to provide it to them and get information on what is actually happening. So the questions under the survey relate to current financial sustainability, current and future changes in job status, hours worked, past and future bankruptcy and foreclosure activity, past and future credit card activity, financial literacy, for example, on budgeting and on credit scores. The household survey is web-based, and as I was saying before, respondents are given information on where to find specific and general resources related to the answers they give. Phase 1 started in April. We have 236 respondents so far. That's not such a large sample. But what I've noticed is that our results are consistent with the data that are coming from other sources, whether this be from the Federal Reserve, from the Mortgage Bankers Association. Our data are largely consistent, for example, on delinquencies and job uncertainty. There are 54 of the 73 counties in Michigan that are represented in the survey so far. The median age of respondents is 45. So we have gotten some really interesting results so far. The big news and the big change that has happened over this period, April to November, and certainly June to November, what we notice is that uncertainty about job loss and hours being decreased is going up, and it's been going up systematically. So it's 14% in June, and it's 24% now. In terms of expected total income change, this is up from